Hi, I'm Samantha Heil, Executive Director of Book Fair at Bel Air, and I'd love to invite you to one of the biggest bookish events in the region. Join us on Saturday, August 8th, 2026 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at APG FCU Arena at Hartford Community College for a free, family-friendly event celebrating books, readers, and community. Book Fair at Bel Air features more than 110 authors and vendors, best-selling featured authors, kids' activities, face painting, story time, arts and crafts, photo ops, and plenty of fun for readers of all ages. Whether you're a lifelong reader, raising future bookworms, or just looking for a unique day out with the family, there's something for everyone at Book Fair at Bel Air. Learn more at www.bookfairatbelair.org or follow us on Instagram at Book Fair at Bel Air. We hope to see you there this August.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Hartford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow pitch or fast pitch?
It's probably the least sexy part of the work. No. The truth is,
What if the most important part of a show wasn't the show itself? What if the real impact happened after the lights came up? After the applause faded? When people were left sitting there feeling something they couldn't ignore? Today's guest didn't just ask that question. She built an entire movement around it. Jessie Fahay is the founder of Ripple Effect Artists, a groundbreaking organization that uses theater as more than entertainment. Through powerful, thought-provoking productions, she creates space for conversations that matter. Conversations around human rights, social justice, and the issues we don't always know how to talk about. But she doesn't stop at awareness. Jessie brings advocacy into the room. She connects audiences with real organizations, real solutions, and real opportunities to take action. What starts as a night at the theater becomes something much bigger, a ripple effect that extends far beyond the stage. With a unique blend of artistic passion and strategic vision, plus an MFA and MBA to back it up, Jessie is proving that storytelling isn't just about reflection. It's about transformation. Jessie, first of all, welcome. And man, I am tongue-tied here today. What is going on?
Thank you. Thank you so much for that great introduction. So appreciate it. You did it beautifully. I'll put you on stage anytime.
Well, I have a tendency to break Well, there's no cameras there, right?
No.
All right, good. Because I know you did a TEDx talk. I've been dying to do one, but I'm afraid I would break the camera.
Oh, definitely not. You know, it's interesting. Even in the TEDx event that I did, some people actually do start and stop and start over. And it was so interesting for me as an actor. I was watching. I was like, oh, that's allowed here. That's kind of cool. Yeah, but it's all.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. I don't say that to diminish the extraordinary organization that is TED and TEDx. Is just sort of interesting. It's just like, oh, okay, people really can like start over. I came from a world where you don't do that in theater. But it really is a conversation, right? And so people want to kind of like be conscious and be mindful and take a pause and like go back and maybe start over. And that can be a very, very useful practice. Yeah.
That's one thing that always amazed me about theater is, there are no other takes.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, it's straight on. So I guess with that, a lot of ad-lib classes help out a lot?
For sure. Yep.
Okay.
I have actually watched their plays when I will know the dialogue so well, just because I've read the play and I know it so well. And I've watched people, even celebrities, mess up and watch how they cover. And it's really interesting. It's fascinating to watch. Yeah.
All right, so how long have you been in theater?
So really started to take intensive acting classes and started to really get into the world of what it was to dive into a character when I was 16.
Wow.
That's a long time ago.
10 years ago. Come on.
Yeah, that's very kind. And then it's been an interesting journey. But I really started to fall in love with, I think there are so many wonderful industries, professions out there that are about studying what it is that makes us human. And this is just, this is one of them. So, Yeah.
So I take it was always your dream then
Yes.
to do theater.
Yes, always.
What about big screen?
It's interesting. As an actor, I'm getting submitted for more film and TV, and I'm starting to look at those scripts more, TV scripts more. And I think we are now in a really amazing golden age of television because there are so many streaming services and like there's so much leeway that, I mean, not a lot of leeway, but there's so much more leeway that TV writers have now than they did in the 90s when I was watching TV. And it's, I loved the shows I watched in the 90s, and there were just specific formulas to be followed with, they even call they call them procedurals, like the shows that we love. So shows like Law and Order that are like an hour long. There's a crime. By halfway through the show, we've solved the crime. And then by the end of the show, we've discovered whether that person is found guilty or not. And it follows that same procedure. I mean, it's quite literally called a procedural, that type of show. Okay. And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And they're great because they're reliable. The audience knows in a way what to expect, which kind of relaxes the brain in a great way.
Right.
So they're great. But now we're in an age of television where there's so many different formats. There's so many different stories to be told. And I'm seeing, we still have a ways to go with this, but I'm seeing so many different body types, age types. I'm seeing a lot of a growth in that way. Yeah. We still have a ways to go, but we're progressing, I believe.
Still doesn't beat theater though.
I agree. Thank you.
I mean, I'm serious.
That was so validating. Thank you.
Well, I talked to somebody else about this. It's amazing how many well-known actors go back to theater.
Yeah. It's their
because they love it so much.
Yeah. There's something about the response, just knowing that there's an audience in the room and having a community experience be together, which is why Ripple Effect mostly has produced theater. We've produced a couple films, but mostly we've produced theater because that experience of community and convening and conversation and coming together is just... It's something that's unparalleled. It's just so palpable and it's also something that human beings crave. We saw this massive, massive shift in mental wellness during COVID, and it's because we were separated, right? It's because we were not convening. Maybe we could convene over Zoom, but it's not the same.
No, definitely not. Yeah. Definitely not. Well, when did you actually first realize that the real power of theater wasn't really happening on stage, but what people did afterwards?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I realize it's a pretty bold statement saying that. And what I'll go with is that when I was an actor on tour, I was 23 and I was acting with a company that put on the play, The Diary of Anne Frank. It was called The Story of Anne Frank. And so, it was children's theater, although we were paid, we had a salary and we got to tour and I got to see a lot of the country, which I thought was really important. I think it's very important that people in the Northeast, especially New York, see as much of the country as possible. So because of that tour, I got to see 44. I've been to 44 of our states. And so to witness students and adults and their reaction to a story about hate, prejudice, war, told through the eyes of a child, which is why that story is so incredibly moving. And so it's the same with Catcher in the Rye. When you witness an atrocity through the eyes of a child, it gives such an interesting light and perspective. What I found through that, and, part of the programming was that we engaged with the students afterwards as actors about the topic, not just about we're actors and here's what our life is like, although they would ask questions like that. But it was really about okay, what does prejudice look like? What does hate really look like? What does nationalism really look like? Like those kinds of questions. And these were sixth graders sometimes, and they're an amazing age. They're a really incredible age because they're old enough and smart enough to want to engage in these conversations, but they're not so old that they want to be cool and posture. Like they still want to, like they're not worried about whether or not their friends are going to make fun of them if they ask a question. So they actually were very, very engaged. And and then we did high school too, and they were very engaged for different reasons.
Right.
But it was that experience. And then in high school, when I was in high school, the Columbine happened, and that was a time that we all thought a school shooting was such a major shock. Now we have almost become, I think, a little bit desensitized to them because they're happening so frequently. But at that time, Columbine was a major shock around the country. We were all just completely, and we had conversations in my school about it for many, many weeks where we were, as students, people were checking in with us about, are you okay? And how is your mental state? And there was like this real conversation around how could this happen?
Yeah.
And there was a play that was written, and the man who wrote it offered the rights to all high schools to do it for free.
Wow.
Yeah. Because he cared so much about the topic. Called Bang Bang You're Dead. And I don't know if high schools are still doing it. I hope they are. But it was a real look at the mentality of all people involved, victims, families of the victims, the perpetrators, and what the makeup of all of it is. And then we started to engage in conversations with the school. So I started to look at theater as a conversation starter at a pretty young age. And I was just drawn to it. So, yeah.
It can be too, whether it be theater, whether it be a movie, whether it be a book, whether it be a podcast.
Yeah.
Is the conversation starter. And that's one of the reasons I do this. And I hope people continue the conversation, because I think that's something that's missing today.
Absolutely.
People are quick to debate.
Yes.
But they don't want to hold the conversation.
Correct. Yes.
And that's very important.
It is. And social media and algorithms are actually I think people are starting to get attuned to this, but I want to make this very loud. Algorithms and social media are designed to create profits for companies that want us to be talking at each other, to be viscerally mad and angry, to be opposed at each other. That is actually causing profits for people in ivory towers. That's all I will say about that. And that's not a partisan statement that I'm making. That is just purely capitalism. That's just how the capitalism is working. And I'm not here to say that all capitalism is bad, but that is one of the capitalist models, a major capitalist model that's happening now, is that there are people who are profiting off of us not actually connecting and listening.
Yeah.
And so, and the perfect way to have that unfold is on screens and digitizing and social media. A way where that almost can't happen. Sometimes it can, but very, very rarely does it happen, is in a shared physical human space in which people are having a dialogue, which is different than two people having monologues at each other. What I've found so surprising, because in addition to our shows, I host nonviolent communication sessions, which I think are so important. And I've had conversations with people this year who disagree with me politically, and they have been peaceful, heartfelt. We've found common ground. We will probably still vote differently, but we found common ground and found shared values. And I think there are so many more shared values amongst all people. I believe that in this country. I believe that of people, there are so many more shared values, and that is not what gets publicized. That's not what causes ratings. That's not,
No.
fun and dramatic to watch. Like, let's look at all of our great, wonderful, peaceful, shared values. That's not entertaining for people, sadly.
Well, and that's the one thing I don't like about social media is, and it's not just social media, you see it on TV too.
Yeah.
Negativity sells.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what people, oh my God, when you look at the algorithms, it's amazing how many different negative posts you see before you see a positive.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's nerve wracking.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love the good news. I don't even watch the news anymore.
Yeah.
We need a good news.
Healthy. You know what? There are good news outlets, channels that exist. There's also completely I would call it unbiased, but like news that isn't bought, that's grassroots, that's funded by the grassroots community. But of course we don't learn about them.
They're hard to find
because they're not for profits and they don't have the funding to actually get out there, right? They're hard. You have to dig to find them. And I think a lot of people are not, when people are working 2 to 3 jobs and raising a family, they're not going to do a whole lot of digging to find. And I have compassion for that. I get that. They're not going to do a whole lot of digging to find the most reliable news source. It's not fair, I think, to put that on them. So, but what theater provides, I heard somebody say this recently, so I am stealing it, is that it's a place where people sit and listen. Like you're quiet. It's dark.
Yeah.
Usually. And you sit and you listen and you observe. And maybe you disagree, maybe you agree, maybe you're outraged, maybe you're heartbroken, maybe you're laughing, maybe you're all of those things. But you are actually in a space where what is required of you as an audience member is to sit and observe and have whatever reactions you might have. And then you can have a space where you reflect. And then what typically happens, to go back to that quote, is that people might have a state of catharsis or might have a state of having whatever emotional reaction they might have. And then they might have a few comments about it with their friends, like, oh, this actress was great. I love the staging. The music was awesome. And then usually, in my experience, you change subjects and you talk about something else. And it's not bad. But I couldn't help but wonder, with the incredible power that can be present on a stage, what if that actually had like lasting, sustainable staying power in some way, as far as results out here in the world, in the community. And so, so I had that audacious, crazy thought, and here I am. Going with it.
Is that how Ripple Effect Artists came about?
Correct. Yes.
And what year was that?
So I first had the idea and started to have actors read plays in the basement of my building in 2009. But we got incorporated in 2013.
2013.
Yeah, 2013.
Okay. Now, wow. Okay.
I know. I just said 20. That makes no sense. I know.
No. You're right. It's just, look, when somebody says 20 years ago, I'm still thinking the 80s.
I know.
Okay?
I know. I know.
Oh,
time.
God.
I know. It's so weird. I know. 2006 is 20 years ago.
I still can't.
I know. I know. I'm with you. I understand. I get it. So 2013, we got our 501c3 status then. And then we had already produced shows before then.
Yeah.
So our first show, like actual stage play we produced, was January 2011. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So right out of high school.
You're so kind. Oh, yes. Flattery gets you everywhere, is what they say in the entertainment world. And it's not
it's
wrong.
the Irish in you. That's what it is.
Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, it was 2011. I took $500 and produced a show, which is not even close to enough money to produce an actual play. But I figured out, I found ways to get a free space. I got costumes donated. Yeah, that was like a real, and I wasn't paying actors yet. So that was like a real rough and tumble scenario. Yeah. And then it's expanded since then. So now we have a board of directors. Our average budget for a show is between 30 and 40K. We're working on what it will look like for us to expand to have off-Broadway runs that are about 5 to 6 weeks and 200, 300 seats. But so that's what we're working towards.
Okay. So you're not doing all these in one area. You're going to all different buildings?
Correct.
Or venues, so I should say?
We're always in New York.
Right. For now.
Beautiful theater capital. Correct. Yeah. But we will have, we have a home office and then we rent different theaters. So we don't actually have a theater space. Yeah.
Oh, so I didn't even think about that. So you have to rent the theater.
Correct.
I'm sure that's not cheap either.
Not at all. But it's very, it's high up there. Like all things New York, these are just commercial landlords and
right.
You have to make sure that their expenses are covered too. What it costs to rent out a Broadway theater is astronomical.
Oh, I bet.
So yeah, no, there's pretty high running costs. Yeah.
Wow. Now, who does the writing? Is it a bunch of different writers or is it you?
Good question. No, I did get a writing degree. That was my major in college. So I do have an eye for what great writing is. And what we always do as a board is we choose the topic that we want to address first. And then we do a big research, I would say a couple of weeks, like 2 to 3 weeks, a big research project where we will actually basically go shopping for plays. So we will look at, there are 2 major publishing houses. There's Concord and Dramatists that actually license and publish plays. And so we will look at those plays that address the topic that we want to address. And then we have a certain criteria as far as how we go about choosing our plays that we want to put on. Yeah.
All right. So crazy question for you, especially since you have a degree in writing.
Yeah.
And with Ripple Effects being a nonprofit.
Yeah.
But you're putting on all these productions. Have you thought about like holding classes for writing?
That is so great. We actually have.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We did a while ago. We did a program for writers. I love doing it. And we will probably do something the exact in a similar way, but also including actors and writers. Actors and directors. But yeah, we did a couple of years ago. We had a program where we brought some writers, young writers together. And as somebody, I had a play published a long time ago, separate from Ripple Effect. But as somebody who has been producing what I would call masterfully written plays for over 10 years, I gave them the perspective of what a producer looks for in as far as looking at a script. And then they went through a few different workshops, and then they had readings with actors in front of producers, which was super cool. They got to actually see how their writing lands for people.
Now, could they, if you guys did that again, and turned one of those scripts into a production for you guys, could you become the publishing company?
That's a good question. We couldn't become the publishing company necessarily because there's, believe it or not, there's a few monopolies, or I would say, I say the term monopoly in a loose way because I don't want to demonize any company, but there are a few companies within the world of theater that kind of have a monopoly on the business end of things. So Samuel French was the major publishing house. They got bought out by Concord and dropped.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Pretty recent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty recent. So So Concord and Dramatist are the two major theatrical publishing houses.
Okay.
So if you are a writer and you want to gain royalties on your writing, then you can do that one of two ways. One is a producer might take out an option on your play, sort of like taking out an option on like a house or like on property or something. And they will say, okay, I'm going to pay this money. You will have this percentage, and then no one else can produce your play while I'm producing it. So the reason why we have rights, Ripple Effect just took out the rights to a play called Building the Wall, which is what we're producing in June, which came from Concord as well. The reason you apply for rights is because we have to ensure that no one else in New York is producing Building the Wall at the same time that we are. So
okay.
In competition. Funny enough, there's another theater company that's doing a reading of Building the Wall, and it's just a reading, like actors reading it, and it's not ticketed, and it's just a one-time event. But the director of my play learned about that. And he just wrote me an email like, what is going on? Somebody else is producing this. You have to call Concord. It's illegal. This is not cool. And then I did more digging and I realized they didn't actually break any of the rules, but this is like, it is a thing where you can't have, there's never a time in which there will be in the same city two companies producing the same play at the same time. It can't happen legally.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So since you guys doing the course, you want to be able to have them publish it through Ripple Effect.
We could produce it though.
You could produce it, and I guess you could help them get it published, whether it's through Concord or the other one. Okay.
Yeah. So the publishing process is a whole other game, but they would need to submit samples of their work and also show where their work has been produced. It's this lovely little catch-22, but show where the work has been produced. But then it begs the question, how can it get produced if it's not published, if people don't know about it, you know? So, and then they can submit it to the two major publishing houses. And then there's a whole
a lot harder than just writing a book.
Way harder. Yeah. Well, I mean, if people are trying to get a novel published, like not the self-published way, but actually published, that's from what I understand, that's a pretty long waiting game.
It can be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're usually they want you to have an agent,
right?
But then your agent wants you to have a publisher.
Correct. Same thing.
It's oh my God. It's mind boggling. Yeah. And it blows me away whenever I have an author on and their first book, they already have a publisher.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But no agent. I'm like, how?
They did a lot of like they just did it all themselves, probably.
Yes.
You have to have so much belief and love in your work. And, you know, I also think we're kind of, as artists, all of us, I think we're kind of graduating out of this time of like my agent, my manager does all the work. I think we're adapting to like, it's good to have representation, but we need to be submitting to, you know, getting ourselves out there too. That's just
all right.
Of it.
Because this is mind boggling to me too, because those of you listening, Jessie and I were talking before in the green room. And being a 501c3, she still has a regular full-time job. She doesn't get paid at all from Ripple Effect. If you can, on average, what's the cost to put a production on that you guys do?
Yeah. So now that we put on shows that employ equity actors, meaning actors that are in the union, so we pay them salaries, and equity stage managers, we pay them salaries as well. On average, for a very, very simple one set, 2-person show that we're putting on, it's about $30K. That's like bare minimum. Yeah. Yeah. So the average cost of if you're ready to have your mind blown even further, I will tell you the average cost of a Broadway production now.
Oh God.
It's going to blow your mind. $20 million.
Not for one night.
No, for a long run.
Okay.
But yeah.
$20 million?
Correct. That's average.
And for you, for 2 actors, the whole set and everything, plus the venue, $30K. And how long does that last?
2 weeks.
Come on.
I'm not kidding. Yep. That's just, it is. And I make this very public because I want all artists out there to know that the majority of theater producers, I've met a lot of theater producers. I've befriended a lot of them. I have one very near and dear and close to me. I've spent Thanksgiving dinners with her when getting to my family is too far of a travel trip. Theater producers, for the most part, have incredible hearts. A lot of them don't have incredible wallets. Some of them do. But they are doing this because of their love of the art, their love of giving artists opportunities, their love of keeping this art going. And a lot of them have other day jobs. A lot of them, this is not how they make their funding. This is just their passion. Yeah. So I think that's not, it seems to me that's not as well known.
No.
Yeah. And there's producers, like producers kind of have this, there's a bit of a connotation of, they're just bullies who can write big checks. And it's just so not true. It's just not that at all.
Don't believe everything you see in the movies.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. And I've been met with sometimes the question or the opposition of, could those thousands of dollars be used in a more effective way? And it's an understandable question, and it's an understandable question to ask around the difference that you want to make. And my response or my stance has been, if we're having an actual dialogue and conversation with 500 to 700, possibly 1,000 people over the course of 2 weeks, and they go, it's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And they go out and impact their community, the community of New York City, which, this is a little bit biased on my part, but I'm a huge believer in that how New York goes is kind of how the country in a way is kind of how the world goes, because we are kind of a window to the world in a lot of ways, the city. And so, yeah, if they can make that kind of an impact based on a show that they saw, then that's, this is something that I can feel justified in that budget. And that budget is still very, very hard to raise. But, if you look at opera and ballet, the budgets are, 10 times what I just said. And I'm not going to insult, I'm not going to insult opera or ballet like Timothée Chalamet did. But I'm not going to go down that road, because I think they're both beautiful and important to watch. What I will say is that if we as a society are okay with these sorts of amounts going towards the art for art's sake, which is wonderful and great, then why not be okay with this amount of funding going towards arts that is advocating for social and social advocacy? Let's be okay with that also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, wow. God,
I just gave you a mouthful. So
30,000. No. This is great, because I think we mentioned this in the green room. I don't believe people realize how hard it is to run a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And you're the first nonprofit that I've talked to that does something like this.
Yeah.
But it's important. And again, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. Mm-hmm. You're raising awareness.
Thanks. Yeah.
Which is very, very, very important. So here comes the hard question. Well, it's not a hard question.
Yeah.
You're probably going to blow my mind away again on this one too. How do you get the funds?
Yeah. So like you said, all nonprofit founders are heroes in my book. Mm-hmm. and all nonprofit, volunteers, companies, these are major, major heroes. And so how people attain funding looks different from every not-for-profit,
Right.
just based on their mission, based on their values, based on their, community. So it's a few different ways for us. So first, I am here to blatantly acknowledge that, yes, I did grow up with a certain level of privilege. I'm nowhere close to being a trust fund baby, but I grew up with parents who were smart about money. Mm-hmm. So my mother is incredibly intelligent about money. And so, and college was just where I grew up. It was just, you were going to go. It wasn't, right. Can you go or should you? It's like, you're going to go.
You're going.
And I didn't realize until later in my adult life just how much of a privilege that was.
Yeah.
And then later looking at, okay, I've been, some might say blessed, privileged. I've been given and afforded a lot of opportunities to grow and prosper. And so now, how do I partner with my very resourceful family to actually make an impact? So I say all that to say my family certainly does not fund all of this,
right.
But they have helped. So my mother is on the board of my not-for-profit. She makes a donation every year. It's not massive, but she does make a donation every year. And there's a wonderful community where she lives that believes in the cause, and she's been a wonderful partner. So I wouldn't call this a family business. She's the only person in my family who is involved, but I will say that it has been a wonderful journey in my relationship with her. And I think you talked about this in your relationship with your partner, right? Of like, if you have a relationship with someone you love, whether it be a romantic partner or a family member or a great friend, where your relationship is oriented around how are we contributing to the world, it's one of the most rich and amazing relationships you can have, because then, our relationship is not all about like our mom and daughter drama. It's like that's gone. That's disappeared. That's been gone for a long time. And we had it. We definitely had it when I was a teenager, all those things. But now it's like our relationship is oriented around how are we contributing. So that's a beautiful thing. So that's one. And I do say that because, I think all of us, if we could recognize what privileges we were given, and not from a place of guilt or shame or beating ourselves up, but look at, okay, like I was given these privileges. Now, how can I give back? How can I research? How can I be researched and give back? So that's part of it. I met a wonderful woman who I did a bunch of leadership development courses with, who worked in theater for a long time. She's been my partner for a long time. Funny enough, her name is Jessica and I'm Jessie. So that's fun. She was really fantastic at writing grant proposals. So she became my partner 15 years ago. So we did have somebody actually in charge of that. So we have
which is important.
Grants, incredibly important. And it's one of those things where the government has money to give to, and like foundations, small mom and pop foundations have money to give organizations. They don't make it super public. You got to dig in, find.
Oh, yeah.
Because the thing is, people with money, they don't advertise that they have money. That's the thing. But
they don't. Like, and you look at how many businesses, huge businesses have grants for that.
Huge.
But you don't know.
Exactly. You got to keep digging. You got to really, really dig and talk to as many people as possible. In the world of the arts, everyone knows of the National Endowment of the Arts, which did lose funding this year. I will not make this a political conversation, but I will say that the arts just got hurt big time when it came to funding this year. So, but that's like the big national one. And we only have one national arts foundation in this country. In places like Europe, there are multiple national arts foundations. And so to find private foundations like within your city, within your community, within your state, that is really, again, those are not massively advertised, but that's what there is to look for and dig for. And I was very,
Right.
very fortunate and so grateful to her, eternally grateful to her for her partnership. And she did a lot of great digging, and she's an excellent writer. So that was another way. Ticket sales, but most theater companies do not, or any arts companies, ticket sales do not make up.
Right. Not a whole lot of money.
No, even if you're sold out, it doesn't compensate.
Yeah.
And then we would have events, and then I would justify it this way, but I don't have children myself, and so I was just like, okay, what on average would I be spending per year on a child if I had a child, right? And even though I've spent less money on my not-for-profit than I would a child, I'm still spending money on my own not-for-profit. So I've made my own financial contributions to my own. So I joke.
It's your baby.
Truth, correct. It is my baby, and I work in order to work. That's been my life for the last, but it's my passion project. A lot of people spend their own money on their passion projects. I don't recommend going overboard with that. Like,
no,
don't go into debt over a passion project, which I have not done. Don't, starve. Don't not pay your bills due to your passion project. Like, do not do that. But I have like, there's vacations I have not gone on. There's houses I have not bought. There's investments I have not spent the money on because I spent the money here. And there's all kinds of questions and thoughts of like, should I have done that? That always comes up. And then you can always recreate what's next. So, yeah.
Now, do you have, because when I think of theater, I know like there's a lot of places will have like memberships.
Yeah.
Do you have that as well?
Yeah, somewhat. So we
not for the actors. I'm talking about for like spectators.
Yeah, audiences. Okay. Yeah. So they're like subscriber.
Thank you. I knew there was another word for it.
No, you got it right. Yeah. So like people subscribe to the opera or subscribe to Roundabout Theater Company sometimes. So we have a way in which people can make we have our holiday campaign every year for end of year donations. That's a big campaign that the whole board works on. And they can, if you give a certain amount, then you have free tickets to our shows like that and free tickets to our events. So we do have that sort of modeled in. It is an interesting catch-22 because in order to have a subscriber program, you need to have enough programming. And in order to have enough programming, you need to have the money. I know it's like, navigating catch-22s.
It's a hard business
all over the place. Yeah. But that's more or less what we have as far as our programming. But I recommend that because for any not-for-profit out there, if you can create a justifiable way to have monthly income, like whether it be like monthly subscribership or monthly pledges or classes, like that is key because then you have a reliable source of funding that is monthly so that you're not running around like crazy. Yeah.
So like when you were doing the writing classes, and I'm glad you just mentioned classes again. Yeah. Did you have like a business as a sponsor of the class?
Good question. No, we've also had sponsorships, so businesses can take out ads in our playbill. That's another source of funding too. And then sponsorships can be great, but for that one, no, those writers paid a monthly fee, so that was a monthly income source, but it wasn't high. I mean, it wasn't high for them, so that was how we covered that. And then I was teaching those classes and not paying myself. So it was a fundraising thing. Yeah.
My God, how hard was it 6 years ago during COVID? Because you couldn't put on any productions, right?
That was when we produced a film, our second film. And we did a whole fundraising campaign for a film, and we had a film director on our board. And so we decided, okay, we're going to address mental health this year, and we'll put on very important. And we put on a short film, or we produced a short film. And even shooting a film in 2021 had its challenges. Like, we needed to have a COVID safety person on set which I believe was one of our board members who did that. And we had to, actors had to socially distance and wear masks, which is like, they don't really do that. Like, we don't socially distance, especially in a tight screenshot. That's
especially if it's a romantic part.
Exactly. Like, you're not.
Blow you like this.
It was such a bizarre time, and it's interesting because 2021 is now 5 years ago, and so it is some time ago. So I feel like now I'm almost forgetting, like, these are the things we did. But people were going to the theater wearing masks. Like, the audience, our audience wore masks when we did our show in 2022. So our first show after COVID, our first play after COVID, was 2022. And even then, all of our audience members had to wear masks. We had to have a COVID safety person in our rehearsals. And that was also a 2-person show. And they had to wear masks. They're 2 actresses, and they had to wear masks during rehearsal when they weren't rehearsing. So they would do their scene without masks, but then as soon as the director was giving them notes, which is a thing that happened, they had to put their masks back on, which I don't even know what that prevented, but we just had to be, it was hard. Safety first. Yeah.
I mentioned before we started how I do Santa Claus professionally.
Yes. I love that.
I had to wear a mask, and they put me outside.
Oh my God. So you have this full beard and a mask over it?
A mask. Oh. I made sure I had to have a Christmas themed mask, of course.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, it was so, because people ask me, they said, well, what about kids? I said, hey, if the kids want to come up and see me, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if they want me to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask. I mean, that's because to me, the kids need to see Santa.
Absolutely.
No matter what.
Absolutely.
And God, yeah, I still have those masks just because I said I'm not going to get rid of them, because that's something that was my busiest year.
Oh, interesting.
It was weird.
So was that December 2021? Like, no, coming out?
I can't remember if it was 2020 or 2021.
Okay.
But I mean, I did it both years.
Okay.
Because what happened, my next door neighbor swore up and down, her granddaughter swore up and down that Santa lived next door.
I love that.
And we're in a cul-de-sac. So she came up with the idea of building Santa's workshop and put it on the corner. And people could drive by and see Santa.
Yep.
And we had people lined up partway around the block.
Yep.
And we were social distancing and everything.
Yep.
And then the place where I did breakfast with Santa became dinner with Santa.
Oh.
And they put me outside.
I love that. Oh, and
because I was, Jessie, I'm not lying. I was upset. I'm like, these kids got to have Santa. Yeah. And then I was doing Zoom calls with kids throughout the world.
Oh.
So, and I think the Zoom calls helped. That's why that was my busiest year yet until last year.
That's so interesting. I think that makes sense. People needed a sense of hope, joy, coming together, especially kids. And kids who didn't get to be with friends, didn't get to be in classrooms, didn't get to go outside and play. I think thank you for being Santa Claus.
Oh, I love doing it. I love it. And it's funny, and it doesn't matter how old people get, they still want to sit on Santa's lap.
Of course. I do. Of course.
I mean, we're all kids. We're all kids.
Yes.
With the one you did during COVID on mental wellness, because, and this is something that I didn't even realize it until somebody brought it up to me. I think it was last week.
Yeah.
Because now we have the COVID babies.
We sure do. Yeah.
And they're in school.
Yep.
Have you the movies that you did on mental wellness? Have you turned around and done them in the theater now?
Yeah. So 2021, we kind of, our programming and how we were planning out our programming after COVID was kind of wonky and weird because COVID was wonky and weird. And so we were just kind of like figuring it out as we were going, which many businesses were doing and many arts companies were doing, because, you know, it was a time where we didn't know, we were just taking guesses. We didn't know how long. I still remember when I thought we were going to shelter in place for like a month, and then it became a year and a half. So, with that, so we knew that, well, first we had a play that we were going to produce in June of 2020, and we had to cancel it immediately. Luckily, and we had put a deposit down on a theater. It took years to get that deposit back. So that was like a whole thing. But then we decided, we got to a point where I think we realized we have no idea how long this is going to last. So we did radio plays, like 1940 style. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was cool. It was really, really cool. I
still love listening to them.
I know, they're great. We actually did just for fun. We were fortunate we had someone on the board who worked at a radio station. So we made them public. And then, you know, we created a podcast. We just did as much as we possibly could virtually. And actually, it was a little bit less stressful because we didn't have to raise money to do those things. We didn't have to buy a theater. So it was just sort of like, well, we're not going to make any money, but we're not going to spend any money. And we're just going to put out some content just to keep active as much as possible. Yeah. So we did, just for fun, we did the radio version of War of the Worlds because it was like, the world's ending. And like people. Wow. And it was super fun. It was actually really fun. We got a bunch of actors together and they just recorded everything like what we're doing now and like spliced it together. So yeah, that was cool. And then after George Floyd, we had in 2018, we produced a spoken word artist who's a Black female who's very, very vocal about structural racism throughout history. And so we had her do a radio show of her spoken word, and we put that out there. So we did a bunch of radio stuff, and then we did a podcast, and then we planned for shooting a film because we figured, you know, that rules were going to be looser around filming than theater, which they were. I mean, there were still rules, but it was less complicated. Something like live theater, you know, and we took this guess and luckily we were right. We figured we won't be able to do anything live until 2022 or maybe later. So then 2022, to answer your question, we stuck with mental wellness and addressing mental illness throughout that whole trajectory because we didn't want to let that go. So we did a play called Gideon's Knot in 2022, which is a 2-person play, which addresses a young boy who's taken his own life. And what young kids are up against and look at and deal with. And so we had the premise of the play, it's pretty brilliant. It's the mom of the boy shows up for her parent-teacher conference that was already scheduled before the boy did this. And the teacher doesn't expect that the mom's going to come. And then the mom comes anyway. And it becomes a whole really, really interesting showdown between these two women about who's actually responsible.
Right.
Yeah. And then it opens up a whole world of how teachers are not supported and are not given the resources or the community or the support needed or the training really needed for children who are severely mentally ill.
Yeah.
And then the parents are not getting the support they need. And so there's this, you know, and then they blame each other. And so we explored that whole world. Show. Yeah.
And when you going off Broadway and going to all the different states?
All the different states?
Yeah. I mean, you have 6 more states you have to see.
Got it. Like for me.
I mean, you have to taking these productions
to other
on
places.
The road.
Yeah. You know what? It's a really great question. Yeah. And people have asked that. We need to come up with a touring model which we actually did years ago, and it didn't pan. There's just there's a lot that we could do, but yeah, I think we need to come up with a touring model, and it would need to be like the same show that we tour throughout. Yeah. And so then like the question is, does that mix with us changing our theme every year? Because that's what makes it a little bit tricky, because we want to address all topics.
Right.
And so I don't know. Do you want to where should we go to Baltimore?
I know you would get a lot of people down here that would be interested in it.
Okay.
I think everywhere you would.
Okay.
Honestly, because raising awareness, absolutely. All right. Anybody listening, if you have a tour bus, they need a few of those.
I love it. A magical school bus.
The magic
Get
school
us on
bus.
there. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, this is the second episode where Magic School Bus is
really? Wait,
Yeah.
when did it come up before?
Oh my God, it was a while ago. I think it was with if I'm not mistaken, a children's musician.
Well, perfect. Yeah. Love that. Yeah, that's great.
Either that or maybe it had been talking about the Who.
I mean,
no, it wasn't that.
It all works.
No, that wasn't Magic School Bus. That was just school. What the hell was the name of that song? Never mind.
I know what you mean. I'm not it either, but I know the one you mean. I'm always thinking of the Who's Tommy because I'm a theater person.
Oh. Well, then wasn't Quadrophenia also?
Say again?
One, too? Quadrophenia. Was that also Broadway play for them? Or was it just Tommy? Or Broadway musical?
Yeah. Tommy's the only thing that they've done on Broadway that's known, because that album is like a concept album. It tells a story.
Yeah.
So that's the only one I know of. Yeah, but maybe they've done other stuff. I don't know. Yeah.
God, who knows?
Yeah.
All right. So I love hearing feel-good stories.
Okay.
And with what you're doing with the productions and then sitting down with the audience afterwards for questions and everything.
Yep.
Can you share a feel-good story that really, I want to say, really took your breath away from somebody that was in the audience?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we did our show, one that sticks to my mind right now is that we did our show addressing racism, and really we called it structural then, but systematic racism. So what does that mean? Looking at all of the different systems within our country. So the big systems where we see segregation and ongoing oppression is real estate, education, and the judicial system. So if you're not, I think if anyone is having a conversation about and finance, but I would loop finance in with real estate, but finance, employment also. So those like four major tiers, I think we all could agree that those are four aspects that really can determine your life, right? Mm-hmm. Your employment, your real estate, whether the cops are looking to arrest you or not, and also your level of education. These are all like four major pillars of an American life existence. So, and these are four pillars in which there has been separations of treatment, major separations of treatment throughout history. So there's even traces of redlining left in New York City. So with that being said, we did a show that addressed that with a play called Guarding the Bridge. And then we partnered it with spoken word with a wonderful spoken word artist named Dawn Speaks. And so after that, we have our talk back, and we actually had an organization that was called the Center for the Study of White American Culture. So it was like looking at colonialism, history of whiteness. What is that? What does that mean? And we also had people from Black Lives Matter there. We had people from an organization called Got to Stop. So we opened it up to the audience, and there was an Egyptian man who had just arrived as an immigrant to New York. So he actually wasn't, a Black American. He was an Egyptian immigrant. And he was going to NYU, which many would, characterize as being the most like liberal, open place. And he said, I can't thank you enough for putting on this show because I felt so alone and so disregarded. And this is in New York City.
Wow.
I felt so, he said something like, I felt so alone and so disregarded, and I feel unseen here. And
wow.
You know, so just giving voice, giving resonance to people, and then, you know, so that was a really special moment. And then having a moment on stage, that was a time in which the panel or the people speaking, there was a pretty big group of us on this tiny little stage. So we're all like crammed together. And so having, you know, people there was an interracial marriage up there, and there was people who were part of the early Black Lives Matter marches, like that happened. I think sometimes people don't realize, but they started like 2012. I mean, they started a long time ago. And then people who are having workshops around whiteness. And I thought that was important because more often than not, people who go through oppression, they're the ones doing all the work. And so, because they automatically have to become activists just because they happen to be born in a gay body or a Black body. So they just have to become activists. And I want to say, like, no, it's the work of all of us. I happen to be born in this body, and it's the work of all of us. So, so to be up on that stage with people who share my opinion was that was really remarkable. That's one I could think of. We also addressed human trafficking one year, and we had a survivor on stage, and she had started her own organization. So it was just one of those moments in which, like, you could hear a pin drop, like the whole audience was silent just with what she had to share. Wow.
Those of you listening, you know what I'm going to say. When Jessie gives us the website, I know the website, but it's better when Jessie gives us the website. Go look at all the shows. When you go to New York, you definitely have to go until she gets to wherever you live at. But make a donation. Make a donation, because that's important. These nonprofits, it's hard. It's very hard to run a nonprofit, and they're raising awareness, which is very important. And what's even more important, they're continuing the conversation. And that's the thing. We all need to talk about it. We don't argue about it. Don't debate about it. Have conversation about everything. And what is that website, Jessie?
Thank you so much. I don't need to do anything else to plug. That was so beautiful and perfect. Thank you. So it is rippleeffectartists.com. And you can contact me directly through the website and then donate directly on the website too. So rippleeffectartists.com.
So is there anything you would like to add before I get to my last question?
Well, thank you so much. I mean, that's my biggest statement I want to make to you, because, you know, I started this company to use theater to provide a platform for not-for-profits. And what you're doing is creating a podcast that is a platform for charities around there. And I think we need to have a spotlight on people doing on the good news and people doing the good work, and the boots on the ground work. I think we need to have our focus and our spotlight on them as much as we possibly can. So just thank you for that.
Oh, it was my honor. And it's important. That's why one of the reasons I started this, oh my God, over 10 years ago, man, I am.
When you were in high school.
Yeah, right. When I was in high school playing Santa. Yeah, that's it.
That's a callback.
God. All right. So you ready for this? I don't know if you know how this works, and it's pretty wild. My guest picks the question. Ooh. They don't know what the question's going to be. I don't even know what the question's going to be.
Ooh.
But I want to say most of the time it aligns with what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
So I need you to pick a question. Wow. I need you to pick a number between 1 and 5.
Okay. Wow. 4.
4.
Okay.
Okay. Now I need you to pick a number between 61 and 80.
Oh my God. Okay, 77.
77.
So interesting.
Anyway, this could go with what we've been talking about.
Okay.
If you could invent something that would make daily life easier,
Oof.
what would it be?
Oh my God. A place where anyone and everyone could get a good night's sleep.
Oh.
Like, so beds, mattresses for everybody. So that's the number one, difficulty that unhoused people have is that they don't get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Actually way more of a difficulty than food. I mean, obviously food is a difficulty too, but, mattresses.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Imagine that.
Yeah.
A bed that no matter
what, you're going to get
what you have, you're going to get a good full night's sleep.
Yeah. And then for those of us who have mattresses that we don't like, I have a great mattress. I knew that was an investment I needed to make, but
it's important.
It's so important. And I have an egg crate on my mattress, and it's like critical. It's so critical for my back now, but because we walk a lot in New York, as we talked about, and your back starts to feel it over some years. But yeah, like everybody having a nourishing night's sleep. Yeah, it's like it affects everything. It affects mental wellness. It affects how we relate to each other.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, people see people walking around in New York and they have certain opinions like, oh, they must be, they'll attach the word crazy to them, which I don't like that word at all. Or they'll attach whatever characterization to the person walking around. Usually they're just sleep deprived.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think the numbers show you need 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helps you lose weight.
Yep.
I know it's helped me. Oh my, I had another guy on and he talked about sleeping and he gave me some tips for better sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried them. I was thinking, yeah, this ain't going to work. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a difference. I mean, I got to watch what I say. I don't want her to come on. So I always ask Lexi like to play when I go to bed, play the Tibetan bowls or white noise or something interesting.
Yeah.
That helps. Sleep socks is what he recommended.
Oh yeah.
I never heard of that.
Yeah. Weighted blankets. I don't have one, but I
haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, they're amazing. Yeah.
And also the oh my God. Oh, the mask, the sleep mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was like, how you couldn't sleep with that thing on? I can.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Whatever works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever, I just, a lot of us are out here, especially in this country, just pounding the pavement, working so hard. And I think people don't understand that, people are just not getting, and again, I won't make this political, but people are just not getting basic needs met.
No.
And if we can just be in a world where you can be wealthy, sure, be wealthy, cause that business. Like, I have zero interest in like communist Russia. I have zero interest in that. Be wealthy, but having, making sure that common basic needs are met. I think it would, because it's a spiral. People don't get enough sleep and then they drink more. And then because they drink more, they're not sleeping enough. And then their sleep is disrupted through alcohol. And it's like this ongoing thing. And I do believe it's causing violence. I believe it's causing a lot of struggle. So just mattresses.
I think
that's my answer.
I think you're on to a new theater production.
I know. I think you're right. I know. Like taking insomnia. Look, actually, funny enough, I just for the heck of it, because I happen to have a little bit of time this week, and I just rewatched Fight Club. And look at what an insomniac does. Like, look at he has insomnia and he creates an underground, fighting club, and then he blows up a bunch of buildings because he needed sleep.
I don't know if you're going to yell at me for this, but I've never seen that yet.
Oh, I won't yell at you, but you have to watch that movie. It's one of the
I know. Well, everybody keeps telling me about all these movies and shows I have to watch. I think I have like an old encyclopedia of them now.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I have friends who tell me to watch a lot of movies all the time. And I got to a point where I was like just starting to write notes in my iPhone of like, here's a list. But yeah, no, it's pretty brilliant. And it's David Fincher as a director, and he's incredible. But yeah, it's, I mean, it's not really about the fighting. It's about something more than that. But spoiler, like you learn it in the beginning, the main character, Ed Norton's character is an insomniac. He actually can't sleep. And, what he says is like, when you can't sleep, you're never really asleep, but you're also never really awake because you're just out all the time.
You're like a zombie.
Yeah. And I think we have a lot of zombies walking around this planet.
You think?
I do.
I know there are.
Yeah.
Jessie, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so wonderful.
This has been fun. Now we both need to go get something Irish to eat.
Love it. All right. Great.
Thanks.
Fingers and mash. Yes. Love it. Thank you.
What a conversation this turned out to be. Going into this episode, I thought we'd be talking about theater. And we did. But this became something so much bigger than productions, stages, scripts, or even lights. This was really a conversation about human connection, about what happens when art stops being passive entertainment and starts becoming a catalyst for empathy, for awareness, and for action. Jessie and everyone at Ripples Effect Artists are proving that storytelling still matters. In a world where so many people are talking at each other, they're creating spaces where people can actually sit, listen, reflect, and continue the conversation together. And honestly, we need a lot more of that right now. What also stuck with me is hearing just how much heart goes into nonprofit work like this. The sacrifices, the passion, the constant fight for funding, the belief in a mission even when it would be easier to walk away. That deserves respect. And I think one of the biggest takeaways from this episode is that change doesn't always begin with a protest, a headline, or some giant moment. Sometimes it begins quietly in a theater seat, hearing a story that makes you see another human being differently. So I encourage all of you, check out Ripple Effect Artists, support what they're doing, and if you're ever in New York, go experience one of these productions for yourself. Don't just watch the story. Become part of the conversation that follows. Jessie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your heart, your mission, and the incredible work you and your team are doing. This was truly inspiring. And to everybody listening, keep the conversations going, because those conversations, they create the ripple effect.